Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, alongside a dear, dear friend, Tammy Thompson, and we are so excited to bring this podcast to you. Show Me the Way podcast is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. Happy Thanksgiving! Here at the Show Me the Way podcast, we want to say that we hope you had a beautiful holiday with family and friends. Whether that was football, a delicious meal, you traveled, or you just had a couple days off work, or all of the above. I also wanted to take a step back during this busy holiday week to reflect on our journey here. I want to share our gratitude. Tammy and I are so grateful to all of you for listening and supporting, and also to all of our amazing guests. They have shared such awesome stories, times that they had to pivot, times that they thought their path was going a certain direction and they had to make a change. They're sharing their inspiration, giving us motivation from health to family to relationships to parenting to growing from difficult situations to job changes to new homes or places to dwell. We have been blown away and we cannot wait to keep going and sharing. I also want to personally thank Tammy. She's been by my side through so much for 25 plus years, and she always jumps in when I ask. She moved, retired from her job, and is working on her next chapters, but joined me with this idea and has helped me stay consistent and to be organized with all of my thoughts and my schedule. And I am so very grateful for that. I also thought I'd take this time to reflect on how this is going and share updates and thoughts for where we are headed. So, if you've been following for this is the 14th week, you know that we have just shared so many different stories about how people have pivoted. And it all started with me talking about my family after hearing a diagnosis for my son. And this was 10 years ago. I appreciate the feedback so much after I shared that difficult story. Many of you know, but I really wanted to put it out there again and really make it the beginning of this Show Me the Way podcast. I believe I have a story to share, and I certainly believe and now fully understand that everybody has something that they could share with us and something that we can learn from. As Tammy and I continue to say throughout all of our episodes, we are not giving our guests specific things to say. We are giving them an idea of the topic or kind of which direction we want to go in, but we are giving them complete autonomy to share any story that they think is impactful or one that they want our listeners to hear. And we have not been let down at all. It's been very amazing to hear, and we've appreciated how brave our guests have been. Some have never been on podcasts before, and they've gotten in, jumped on, answered questions, and just made for such a great show so far. I can't wait to keep going. So, I thought I would take this opportunity since it is Thanksgiving weekend. We just celebrated with our families and people are still traveling. There's more football to be seen and people are very busy. So I didn't want to make it somebody else's episode. I didn't want to ask a guest and then say, hey, guess what? You are going to air the weekend of Thanksgiving, just in case they were busy themselves, or just to give them the opportunity to promote and talk about their experience during a different time. So I thought for week 14, I would jump back in. Tammy is not with me. This is me kind of going rogue and just sharing a little bit about what I think about the podcast so far, which I've kind of done. Talk a little bit about some updates that I've heard since we've talked to some of our guests. And then again, share how I think we can move forward. In terms of Show Me the Way podcast, I really do believe we're sticking to what I wanted to do. Has been such a joy and it's very authentic to what was in my heart and what I felt I wanted to bring to this podcast. And that was so many of us, we think that there's this path for us to be on. And especially when we're younger, and there's nothing wrong with having a lot of goals and dreams and hopes when you're young. There's nothing wrong with saying, in 5 years, I want to do this. In 10 years, I want to do that. But now that I'm up toward middle age, I'm really understanding that you can't always have the perfect plan set. You're not always going to adhere to what that plan is. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have goals and dreams, but it does mean that you need to understand that a pivot may come up and that that is okay, and learn from our guests because they're showing us how they pivoted and how they're still standing tall and they're still making a difference, or how something very positive came out of that pivot, or they learned so much from that complicated issue that they went through that they just feel they're in a better place today, or they're heading in that direction. So, my story about my son when he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, something I had never heard of before. When I was told that he probably would be in a wheelchair in middle school and would have a different life than we had expected. My husband and I, all the dreams and goals that we had just had to change. Not that we wouldn't keep dreams and goals, we just had to open our eyes and take a pivot and determine how we were going to move forward and give our son the best life we possibly could. And I will say it was very, very difficult at first to understand that I had to make a pivot and to even see what that pivot would look like. And both my husband and I had a lot of anxiety. As I mentioned in the first episode, the first few months after hearing about this diagnosis, we didn't know where to turn, didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to respond to all the wonderful people that kept reaching out to us. We didn't know how to share with our family. We didn't know how to share with our children. We just had to figure it all out, as I always say, one day at a time. And looking back at that person, I wish I could give her a big hug and just say, it's okay. Life is going to be full of joy. And this 5-year-old is going to teach you more than anyone has ever taught you in your life. And your 8-year-old is going to show you what it takes to be a sibling of a special needs brother. And he is going to open your eyes and he is going to teach you how to take one day at a time and how to provide joy and just put others before yourself even more than I had ever thought before. I'm getting emotional. My children, they are my life. They're my heart, they're my soul, they're everything to me. I cannot imagine life without them. I can't imagine not having those 2 boys as my exact children. They are the reason that I believe so strongly in God, because the love that I have for my boys is unmatched, and only God could provide that kind of love and create that kind of bond, and only God could give me these 2 people that have just really guided me on this path that I did not think I was going to be on. So, as I talked about Thanksgiving, I'm sure you enjoyed many different things. If you celebrated with a big family dinner, if you guys watched football together, whatever it was, I hope that you had a lot of joy. For me, it's having my son home from college for a few days. It's putting up our Christmas tree, which is our annual tradition. Nathan wanted to put the tree up on November 1st. I made him hold out till Thanksgiving and we could do it together as a family, watching Christmas movies and just being together. That is all I wanted, and I'm so very grateful I was able to have that. Every day I learn from my family. I learn from my husband what it takes to be a partner. I learn from my boys, again, what it takes to be the incredible siblings that they are, and what it takes to be in a wheelchair but still put a big smile on your face and create this presence every time you're around someone else. That's what my boys do. So I'm very grateful that I was able to share that story. And every time I hear our guests speak, it brings me back to that. I'm brought back to what my sons have shown me, what Nathan specifically has shown me, what it was like when I heard about his diagnosis and how far we have come since then. And how much our community has just risen up. I have learned so much about people and how there are so many good people out there. Oftentimes, if you watch the news, which my family and I don't watch too much, we like to keep abreast of what's going on, but we really like to create an environment full of joy. And there's a lot of negativity that you can see. Maybe that's the news. Maybe that's talking to people that are going through a hard time and are unable to see joy. Maybe it's looking out and just saying, this world is messed up and not finding the good. That's something that we all do. And it can take over. It really can. But it's very important to me to go after the joy, to find stories where people are spreading joy, and then to also just think about our community. Like I said, they've just been so amazing. And I pray for all of you that if you don't have a community or a village or a group of people that you can trust and that are always there for you, you need to seek it out. There are people there. We are beyond blessed because we've got a couple of different groups of families. We have close friends that I've met through my children's school. We have really close friends that my husband and I met through my older son's soccer, people that have kids who haven't played on the same team with my son in a really long time, but have still been here. They are always by our side. We have met so many amazing people that just live in our community, people that we have worked with, people that we have gotten to know through other people. I could go on and on. You know that I've had individuals on here that were part of a direct marketing company that I worked in, and that community was unmatched in terms of women supporting women. And I've had 3 guests from that group on so far. I have really found an amazing Bible study sisterhood. I've had a couple of those members as guests on the show already. All of these people contribute to this outstanding community that we are so very blessed and fortunate to be a part of. And I also mention it because you know that my husband and I formed a small nonprofit called Nathan's Ninjas soon after he was diagnosed. At the beginning, we were supporting another organization, having all of our family and friends support that organization directly because they all wanted to do something. And at that time, we didn't have incredible needs for Nathan. So we wanted to support this other amazing organization, Team Joseph. And that was a great outlet for our family and friends. They were so giving. They had money, they had time, they had energy that they wanted to devote to something like this. And that was amazing. Team Joseph does such great things in terms of advocating, going after a cure, making sure that treatments are available, and assisting families that go through what we go through and may not have the community that we have. But as Nathan got older, he had many more needs in terms of medication, in terms of his wheelchair, and in terms of a wheelchair van, a ramp, a bathroom, the ability to move around throughout the house and to get into the basement, all things that our community really wanted to support. They said, what can we do to help him directly? We do still want to support other organizations, and we have been able to support the Miracle League, and which is an organization that is just fantastic, allows for baseball games for children that can't participate or would have a very difficult time participating in the general baseball leagues that are out there. And Nathan did get to be in Miracle League before, so we liked supporting them. As you know, Nathan goes to the Muscular Dystrophy Association summer camp in Michigan. He's gone 3 years in a row and he loves it. If he could live there all summer, I think he would. So we have been able to support that organization and others. But the biggest thing is our community has been able to do what they've wanted to do for Nathan. And it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. A lot of people have a difficult time when people give to them. They think, wait a minute, you don't have to do this. What can I do for you? And we think we can't ask for help. We can't ask for things. And this community has shown us that it's not about you, it's about your son. We want to do what we can for him during this life. And again, life is short for all of us, not just for somebody who has muscular dystrophy. It's short for all of us. Time goes by so fast and you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So the ability to support him directly, it's amazing the hearts that these people have. And many of you that are listening, you know what you have done, and just know that from the bottom of my heart and my husband's and my kids, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for you and all of your support. And we can't say thank you enough, but boy, is it amazing what our community has been able to do. So I wanted to just bring that up because I'm so very thankful, and it's something that everybody needs to know about. So the story I shared before was the diagnosis and how we reacted to it, but here I just really wanted to reflect and share about how grateful we are for our community and the people that have helped us. Bringing this podcast, I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to share all of the amazing things that we have been able to witness since the diagnosis. I mean, my mindset has changed so much. My mind is open. I understand the pivot. I want to find the path that I'm supposed to be on. I want to find the path that God has created for me. But I definitely feel it in my heart and soul that part of that path was bringing this podcast and these types of stories to all of you. And we're getting there. I mean, we just started, so we've got a long way to go till we have the thousands of followers that I know we will have. But to the ones that have really just continued to listen every week, thank you so much, and keep sharing. If you're loving the stories, you sharing with others means the world to us as well. I wanted to also reflect on those guests that we have had. So, as you remember, my very first guest was one of my best friends, Amy Fava. Oh, she was so fun to have on as our first episode. It seems so long ago. It was just a few months ago. I really wanted her on for a couple of reasons. One, she is an amazing person that makes anyone feel incredibly special and comfortable. So I knew if she was on here for my first podcast, I would feel very comfortable asking her questions or just having what was a friendly conversation. And that's exactly what it ended up being. I knew that she would just bring light, and I knew people would want to hear her tell any kind of story because it's just this personality that's just what she brings. So, fortunately for me, I really do get to see and hear from her quite a bit. And I just wanted to give an update since she was our first guest. She talked a lot about this passion she had for this job that she loved. It was financial education. She really, really loved it. She loved going into school. She loved talking to children and students and teachers. She has a education background, so seemed like that job was her perfect role, her perfect situation. And again, you're on a path, you think this is where I'm going, this is the career that I'm going to have, I'm going to grow, I'm going to take on new roles, I'm just going to be here. But as often happens, things started to change, leadership changed, overall corporate culture and company requirements and where they were going, all of that changed. And when that happened, the original situation she thought she was in started to look very, very different. And it started to steer away from what she wanted and the culture and the situation that she was excited about. And that happens. I have been there. So she decided she needed to leave. And I mean, that's a huge decision and it's very difficult. And we've all been there, and it's very tough, and it can be very sad, especially if you leave something that you thought was it for you. You leave a group of friends, you leave people that you trust, you leave something that you know, you leave a comfort zone. There's so many things that go into it, and emotions run all over the place when you go through that. And we happened to have her on the podcast right after she was going through that very difficult situation. And she talked about what she wanted to do next and what that kind of looked like to her. And I just am happy, 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 so happy to report that she has a new job, and it's still within education. It's at a school that she is completely comfortable in. And she went in knowing probably three quarters of the people that are there already. So feels very comfortable. And I actually was very blessed to spend a girls' weekend with her last weekend. And yes, she was very focused on some things that we were doing. We were actually at this crafting weekend. And so she was very focused on what she was doing. But I could just see the happiness on her face. She just had so much joy, and she was the Amy that I know and love and am used to seeing. And it was wonderful. So I thought I need to give my listeners an update that Amy is now in another dream job. And, of course, there will be pivots along the way, but I'm very happy for her right now and excited to see where things go with her. As far as others, I think it's just been wonderful to have them on here. Lori Sullivan was an awesome guest who really brought us into more of a professional type discussion, talking about what she has been able to do in her corporate roles. And after talking with her, and that was the first time I had met her, I decided I wanted to join forces with her on a project I was working on, and she decided to jump on board. So you just never know what's going to happen when you start speaking with someone. Like we talked about with Shavana Wilson a couple of weeks ago, we talked about connecting and being open to these doors, walking through them and meeting new people and understanding how this connection is going to grow and what it could mean or who those people need to meet. And, someone like Lori was someone that I was so grateful to meet through this podcast. I do believe God places people in your life for a reason. And I think it was a great connection for me and Lori. So many things positively have already come out of this podcast. I've learned so much more about people that I thought I knew before. I learned stories I hadn't heard about before. Each time I have found more comfort in asking questions and pulling out pieces that I believe our listeners need to listen to. As I've heard from guests, Tammy and I have taken notes and added about 20, 30 more people that we want to talk to. As I have shared this podcast with other individuals, I have thought if you ever want to tell a story, and you're comfortable being on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So our list of guests continues to grow, which makes me very excited because that means we're going to keep going with this podcast. And as you're listening, if you're thinking, I have a story that would be impactful, please reach out to me. Again, very casual conversation. You don't have to have any experience doing this before. So far, we are currently recording just audio, so you can show up how you are and we can discuss. So that's an option for you too as you're listening and thinking I have a story to tell, then I want to hear it, and so do all of our listeners. So all of this to say, thank you for being here. Very grateful. I hope that you had a wonderful time with your family and friends for the holiday, and looking forward to the next couple of weeks where we get closer to Christmas and we see friends and just continue to celebrate. It's such an awesome time of year. And I just wanted to share some updates, especially about Amy, because that was probably the biggest update that I knew. And also just let you know that we're going to keep going. Like I said, Nathan and his diagnosis was the reason I put this together. But now there's just so much more reason for it. We all can learn from one another. Yes, I've only had women on so far. I hope that we continue to go and we will bring on some men as well because they have stories to share too. Everybody does. And I just appreciate you being here and looking forward to continued stories. Any feedback you have, please provide to us. And we look forward to growing, learning, and showing each other the way. Thank you for joining us for the Show Me the Way podcast. We truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. We hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little motivation. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.